Widow of the fallen about that phone call with the president. Also tonight, Senator John McCain, were his words a swipe at the president about his Vietnam deferments, one of them for bone spurs in his foot. The hunt right now for a possible serial killer, 3 victims in less than 2 weeks. The surveillance, who they want to talk to. The tornado watch up right now. And Bill O'Reilly and the stunning figure reported by the New York Times, settling at least 6 cases of sexual harassment and reportedly agreeing to pay the last woman, a colleague, $32 million.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to start another week with you. And we begin tonight with harrowing new details about what those 4 U.S. Special Ops soldiers encountered during that deadly ambush in Niger. They were part of a larger team, and tonight we've learned they were on their way back to base when they were given a second mission to find a well-known al-Qaeda and ISIS operative. Those 4 American soldiers did not survive the attack, and tonight we still do not know whether they had body armor. What we do know is when the call for help was made and how long it took. In a rare moment today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Joseph Dunford, coming before the cameras after the president today would not answer questions sent his way. ABC's Mary Bruce leading us off.
The assessment by our leaders on the ground at that time was that contact with the enemy was unlikely.
But tonight, ABC News is learning much more about what really happened in the ambush that killed 4 American Special Ops soldiers and what their mission really was. It was October 3rd when 12 U.S. soldiers and 30 Nigerians set out on a reconnaissance mission to a remote village. But a senior intelligence official tells ABC News they were given a second mission, their new goal to kill or capture a high-value target. They were supposed to be joined by a second U.S. team that never made it, but they were told to proceed on their own. The official tells us that mission was unsuccessful, but exposed the Americans to the enemy. The next morning, the Americans are heading home when they sense something is off. A village elder is trying to stall them. Suddenly, 50 militants are upon them, armed with rocket-propelled grenades and heavy machine guns, a sophisticated attack. According to the Pentagon's account, 1 hour into the firefight, the Americans called for help.
My judgment would be that unit thought they could handle the situation without additional support.
A U.S. drone arrives within minutes, unarmed but able to provide video of the ambush. 30 minutes later, French military aircraft mobilized to help. 2 hours into the attack, those French planes arrive on the scene to provide cover. As night falls, 2 wounded U.S. troops are evacuated. So are the bodies of the 3 U.S. soldiers killed in action. But Sergeant LaDavid Johnson is still missing. His body would not be recovered for another 48 hours.
On the evening of 6 October, Sergeant Johnson's body was found and subsequently evacuated. From the time the firefight was initiated until Sergeant Johnson's body was recovered, French, Nigerian, or U.S. forces remained in that area.
Congress wants answers, but some top lawmakers admit they didn't know U.S. troops were there.
We don't know exactly where we're at in the world militarily and what we're doing. I didn't know there was 1,000 troops in Niger.
The president has been taking credit for victories against ISIS.
I totally changed the attitudes of the military, and they have done a fantastic job. Yeah, ISIS is now giving up. They're giving up. They're raising their hands. They're walking off. Nobody's ever seen that before.
Why did that happen before?
Because you didn't have Trump as your president.
But the Pentagon today made clear who is responsible for the deaths of these 4 Americans.
So our initial assessment is these are local tribal fighters that are associated with ISIS.
And Mary Bruce joins us live tonight from the Pentagon. And Mary, we know the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said today that they believed contact with the enemy was not likely. But Mary, we're learning from a senior intelligence official this was going to be a very high-stakes mission, that this team was on its way back to base and was told to turn around and was given a second mission to kill or capture a high-value individual.
Yes, and David, a senior official tells us that high-value target was a known senior al-Qaeda or ISIS operative, and that they were told, quote, they had high confidence they knew where he was.
And Mary, one more question on this tonight. According to an American survivor of this attack in Niger, he's now described what Sergeant LaDavid Johnson did in those hours, calling him a war hero who gave everything he had in this fight.
Yes, and David, in fact, the survivor tells ABC News Sergeant LaDavid Johnson gave everything he had during this ambush, saying he died fighting
for his brothers.
Mary Bruce leading us off tonight from the Pentagon. Mary, thank you. And that briefing from General Dunford came after the president would not answer questions today on the mission. But he did tweet today. The president questioning what the widow of one of those fallen soldiers is now saying about her phone call with the president. Tonight here, you will hear what that Gold Star widow told George Stephanopoulos. Then the president's tweet. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl.
Just days after burying her husband, their 2-year-old LaDavid Johnson Jr. holding the flag from his father's coffin, Myesha Johnson is breaking her silence about the call she received from President Trump.
What he said was...
The president?
Yes, the president said that he knew what he signed up for, but it hurts anyways. And it made me cry because I was very angry at the tone of his voice and how he said it. Like he couldn't remember my husband's name. That what hurt me the most, because if my husband is out here fighting for our country and he risks his life for our country, why can't you remember his name?
Less than an hour after Mrs. Johnson spoke out on GMA, a tweet from the president contradicting the Gold Star widow. I had a very respectful conversation with the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson and spoke his name from the beginning without hesitation. The president has also said that Congresswoman Federica Wilson, a friend of the Johnson family who heard the call, totally fabricated her account of what the president said.
The president said that the Congresswoman was lying about the phone call.
Whatever Ms. Wilson said was not fabricated. What she said was 100% correct.
Mrs. Johnson, who said she was not allowed to see her husband's body, is demanding answers about what happened.
I don't know how he got killed, where he got killed, or anything.
Are you confident you're going to get the answers you need?
If I keep pushing for him, I will.
Today in the Rose Garden, President Trump didn't answer questions.
You have a response to Myesha Johnson, Mr. President. Can you talk to us about Niger, Mr. President?
Still no answer. In the 19 days since the attack, the president hasn't said anything about what happened or whether he authorized the mission. But today, just hours after the president tweeted about Mrs. Johnson, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs made this promise to her and the other families of the fallen.
We're going to go to every last length to try to satisfy their concerns or answer their questions. I mean, that's.
So let's get live to Jonathan Karl at the White House tonight. And John, when asked what she said to the president, Mrs. Johnson said she didn't say anything, she just listened.
Mrs. Johnson said that the call made her even more upset than she already was. And David, asked today if she has anything that she would like to say to the president now, she said no, she has nothing to say to him. David?
John Karl tonight. Thanks, John. Meantime, Senator John McCain, in an interview marking 50 years since he was shot down over Vietnam, taking what many believed was a swipe at President Trump about deferments, one of them for a bone spur in the president's foot. Here's ABC's Cecilia Vega.
Coming from war hero Senator John McCain, it sure sounded like a swipe at President Trump, who got 5 deferments to avoid serving in Vietnam, including one for bone spurs.
We drafted the lowest income level of America, and the highest income level found a doctor that would say that they had a bone spur. That is wrong.
So was McCain talking about the president? He was asked today on The View.
People thought you were talking about
Trump.
Mr. Trump, because he had a doctor's note that said he had bone spurs.
I think more than once, yes.
More than once.
Chronic bone spurs.
Do you consider him a draft dodger?
I don't consider him so much a draft dodger as I feel that the system was so wrong that certain Americans could evade their responsibilities to serve the country.
Their public sparring goes back to the campaign trail when then-candidate Trump took a shot at the Arizona senator who spent more than 5 years as a prisoner of war.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
McCain has not forgotten.
What I cared about was when he was talking about other prisoners of war, including our World War II guys who are still around. There's a individual that lives in Phoenix, and he's 92. And he weighed 110 pounds when he got out of the German prison camp. Wow. And he said to me, he said, Senator McCain, why does the president not like me? You know, that's hard to explain to a 92-year-old man.
Now, as he battles brain cancer, the 81-year-old senator has become one of the president's toughest critics, and the president has not held back.
People have to be careful because at some point I fight back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm being very nice, but at some point I fight back, and it won't be pretty.
Are you scared?
Doesn't he look scared?
All right, so let's get to Cecilia Vega with us live from the White House as well tonight. And Cecilia, Senator John McCain was also asked today if he still talks with the president, if they have any relationship at all. How do you answer this?
David, he said he has almost no relationship with President Trump, but late today he also tried to clarify those comments he made about bone spurs. He said he was not taking a shot at this president, but you heard him today. He was not holding back. We have asked this White House for a comment, David. So far, no response.
Cecilia Vega here on a Monday night as well. Thanks, Cecilia. We move on to other news this evening and to the killer on the loose in a Florida neighborhood. 3 murders in 10 days now, and police are asking for your help in identifying this person seen near the scene of the first murder. They want to talk to him. Tonight, neighbors are being told not to go out alone, and ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Tampa.
The manhunt for a possible serial killer intensifying tonight.
Whoever did this was able to sneak up on them and murder them.
Tampa police inundating the Seminole Heights neighborhood.
We've been telling them to leave their porch lights on, be very observant of your surroundings.
This grainy surveillance video is their only lead, showing a person of interest. Police not releasing much information about evidence, but insisting the killings are connected.
I assure you that they are related, they're linked.
3 people gunned down in 10 days, less than half a mile apart. 2 of the 3 victims, Benjamin Mitchell and Anthony Naiboa, killed near bus stops. Naiboa just happened to take the wrong bus home when he was murdered last Thursday. The transit authority has since altered its routes. The other victim, Monica Hoffa, was walking to a friend's home. Her body discovered in an empty lot, hidden in high grass.
We don't want Monica to be forgotten, but we don't want everybody to forget there's 2 other families.
Memorials for the victims line the streets, marking the spots where they died.
They killing just for nothing, just for fun. Right, I'm stepping right on his blood right here. Right here is his blood.
Victor Oquendo joins us live tonight from Tampa. And Victor, these were strong words from the police today, warning that the streets are too dangerous to travel alone.
David, because this killer attacked people who were alone, police are urging everyone to stay in groups. The chief adding anyone who is alone is a potential victim or a suspect. They're now getting ready to brief this very concerned community at this school right here behind me.
All right,
David?
Very tense nights in Tampa. All right, Victor, thank you. We turn next to the tornado watch up right now across several states. At least 6 reported tornadoes across the South in the past 24 hours. Damage from one of them reported just a short time ago in North Carolina. Tonight, we're told a severe threat is moving into the Northeast in the coming hours, so let's get right live to meteorologist Rob Marciano along the West Side Highway here in New York tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hey, David. It's been flat out balmy across the East Coast for the past week, and that fuel is for the fire as far as what's happening across these thunderstorms. We have the tornado watch. Check it out across the Carolinas and through Virginia, but this is a huge system that stretches well into Canada. During the day tomorrow, it'll push off towards the north and east, and as it does so, D.C., Baltimore, Philly, New York City, all under the gun here. Severe threats similar to today, and this whole system is going to amplify, which means strong winds for all of the Northeast, not just tomorrow, but the day after that could see some power lines coming down with those strong winds. David?
All right, a rough 24 hours ahead. Rob, thanks as always. We turn next here to an alleged terror plot foiled in Miami. The suspect arrested in an FBI sting. The alleged plot to place a pressure cooker or suitcase bomb in the food court at Miami's Dolphin Mall the day after Thanksgiving. Vincente Solano was taken into custody. The FBI now says he made pro-ISIS videos and told undercover agents he, quote, wanted to send a message because he had, quote, resentment inside. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Monday. The urgent manhunt right now. The former police officer now on the run. The officer, authorities say, cutting off his GPS tracking device, now describing him as armed and dangerous. Bill O'Reilly and the stunning figure reported by the New York Times settling 6 known cases of sexual harassment, agreeing to pay the last woman, a colleague, a reported $32 million. And the police stunt's gone wrong tonight. The members of a motorcycle drill team crashing during a performance and one officer dragged down the street. We have news on their conditions tonight. We'll be right back. Like Bill O'Reilly's response, the audio from the New York Times after the newspaper reported he agreed to pay a former female colleague $32 million to settle a sexual harassment complaint. Here's ABC's Lindsay Janis tonight.
You are about to enter the no spin zone.
Tonight, former Fox News anchor Bill O'Reilly firing back after reports of a massive $32 million sexual harassment settlement.
This is
The New York Times releasing this explosive interview after the paper reported O'Reilly personally struck the settlement with former Fox News legal analyst Liz Wheel in January after she accused him of repeated sexual harassment. The $32 million dwarfing the 5 other known O'Reilly settlements.
It's on you if you want to destroy my children further, all right? Because it's all crap.
The very next month, Fox gave O'Reilly a new $100 million contract. In a statement, 21st Century Fox said it was not privy to the amount of the settlement and regarded it as a personal matter for O'Reilly. But Fox ended up dismissing him months later when allegations of multiple settlements became public.
I gotta get help, guys.
And tonight, more trouble for movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. The New York Attorney General launching a civil rights investigation for sexual harassment into the company he co-founded. This comes as Hollywood A-listers are now under the microscope for what they knew.
But this level of criminal sexual predation is not something that I ever thought was going on. Absolutely.
Some other news tonight, the former Cleveland police officer on the run, Tommy Griffin, about to stand trial, accused of sexually assaulting and kidnapping his girlfriend. Authorities say he cut off his GPS tracking device and disappeared while under house arrest. They do believe he's armed. There are new developments in the alleged hazing of a college football player in Illinois. 5 players from Wheaton College facing criminal charges, accused of duct taping the hands of a freshman teammate, beating him and leaving him naked on a field in 2016. They were allowed to keep playing for a time. 4 of those players pleading not guilty at their arraignment today. We have news on the police officers injured in Philadelphia. 3 officers on their bikes were heard performing stunts during a police convention. 2 members of the drill team were injured when they were knocked to the ground. A third was hurt while being dragged down the street. All 3 are expected to be okay. And the new medical headline tonight about breast cancer. Researchers discovering 65 gene mutations linked to the disease. The findings may one day improve some screening procedures, helping to identify more women possibly at higher risk of breast cancer. Those findings published in Nature and Nature Genetics. More on our website tonight. When we come back, America Strong, the Army medic, his courage under fire, and the heroic story that was kept secret for years. A harrowing battle kept secret for decades, and here's David Wright.
Gary Michael Rose enlisted as a combat medic in Vietnam. At age 22, on a secret mission behind enemy lines, his unit came under attack. He was the only medic for more than 100 men. So for 4 days in the jungle, he treated his comrades, even though he was injured too. When the choppers finally extracted them, his got shot down. All 16 soldiers on board from his unit were injured. All of them came home alive. That's Sergeant Rose on crutches there. He saved every one of them. Today at the White House, retired Captain Rose, now 70, received the nation's highest honor. Plus, a pat on the shoulders, a handshake, and a well-deserved salute.